Hi, welcome to Salt and Burn This. I'm Sami.
And I'm Valerie.
And this is our Supernatural Rewatch podcast.
Each week, we're going to break down an episode in order with lots of details, so nothing's left out.
And we throw in some personal nuggets and stories and research to mix it up just a little bit.
Because not only are we fans of the show, but like Sam and Dean, we've also had our fill of road trips.
Yeah, but for theater, not for hunting ghosts and demons.
And not in a super sexy muscle car.
Anyway, shall we?
We shall.
Oh, wait, we have to do some banter.
we just used up all of our banter.
We did.
Oh, I have some banter. Okay.
Yeah.
So, a friend of the family, this is kind of a sad but happy story.
Mm-hmm.
Friend of the family, like my mom's, how do I explain this? My mom's best friend, and our family, her kids and our family, we all kind of grew up together, not at the same time every day, but like we'd go on family vacations together. We'd all rent the same house together, or we'd all go do the same, vacations together. And but I was the youngest out of all of them. So I was slightly disconnected from the group only because I was the little. But my mom's best friend's youngest son was just, I think, a year older than my sister Julianne. And he, growing up, he ended up being like a DJ in the sense of not in a, wiki, scratch the record DJ, but one of those, somebody who collected an amazing record collection and would spin records, in the classical sense of being a DJ. He started a band, all this stuff. But he tragically passed away at a young age because of a drug overdose. And it wasn't until recently that his dad decided to sell his record collection. He decided to auction it off. So it turns out that there was a record collector here in Charlotte who saw wasn't even the owner of the store, of the record store. It's like one of his assistants saw an advertisement for this auction and called his boss, who was on vacation, and said, "You have to look at this. You have to look at what records are available in this collection." This guy, the record store owner, came back from vacation and drove out to Tennessee, where his dad's house is, and he literally lives on a mountain. And had to walk up all the steps, go down into the basement to view this collection of over 3,500 records.
Oh my God.
And the guy bid on them. He collected all of them, brought them all back to Charlotte, cataloged them, and then did a huge sale on them. He made a video about it. He didn't even have to do that, but he did a video about it. He did a video about Chris, who was the DJ and the record collector. And every album that was from his collection, he put a sticker on. And the sticker has a QR code that leads to the video, which shows how they went about getting this collection and what it meant to have this record collection. It was so cool. So
you got one.
Can you see what it is?
Kansas! Oh my God!
It's the original album and the original album art with Wayward
Carry
Son.
On? Oh my God!
Yes. Yep. And here's the sticker.
Oh, that's a cool
with
sticker.
With the QR code. Chris Whitson. And
that's awesome.
I don't have a record player anymore. I am going to get a record, but this is the album I got. The original Kansas album with Wayward Son. He had the most amazing collection. Anyway, so that's my story. I ended up getting for my sister. I got he had the Muppet movie, with their rainbow connection on it. He had the gamut of music. He had jazz. He had Kansas, he had the Muppet Show 3,500 albums in Uncle Bob's basement.
Wow.
Uncle Bob Whitson's basement. Um, and I mean, when they opened the doors on the sale, the line was around the block for people to come in. And by the time I
Wow.
got there, I don't want to say it was slim pickings, but it was like slim pickings.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so anyway, super cool. I got an album for everybody in my family. Oh, it was super fun. I got my parents a George Carlin album. I got my brother a Queen album. It was just fun. It was good stuff. So anyway, that's
Yeah.
my
That's a really cool
that's
story.
my story. So I was gonna hold on to that story because I wanted to wait for the next time they played Wayward Son
Oh, that's gonna be
on
like a year from now.
Supernatural. Yeah, and I was like, I'm just gonna break down and do it.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
anyway, so my next purchase is going to be a record
A
player.
record player, and then you could play it for that episode
Yes.
when we do the
Yes,
finale.
exactly.
Season 5, Episode 2. Good God, y'all. Sam and Dean's battle to save a demon-infested town places them in the violent path of war, one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Meanwhile, Castiel searches for his father, God. Written by Sarah Gamble and directed by Phil Screecha. So two supernatural
Uh, Stalwart.
yes.
So I have to admit, it took me longer than it should have to recognize the good God, y'all. I knew what it was, but it was like I didn't connect it to
Hmm.
the war. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Say it again. So, I mean, I got the
Made some
good
notes. I'm
God,
gonna go
y'all, in the
back to
sense
this.
of
So
God,
we
but
haven't had like
the actual play on the song
like
is
a guest
war
star.
in
What
a
is it?
while.
Yeah, yeah.
And this time we do. And I want to say
Hmm.
once again, SuperNet, anytime there is a guest star, you're like, oh, they just gave it away by giving the guest star like the role,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was like, oh, it's this guy.
Yes. It's this
So the
guy
guest,
because he is always the bad guy. In anything that
yes,
I have ever seen him, he plays the villain.
right, right, except for the show he's currently doing. So Titus Welliver, who plays the title role of War in this episode. Um, he was on Lost. He was been in Deadwood. He was on Sons of Anarchy. He was on
Mm.
Suits,
Mm.
and right now he's the title character of Bosch, which is now like not just Bosch
Oh,
anymore. It's like Bosch, like
oh, I
reinvented
don't know.
or something
Yeah.
like that. It's like Bosch,
I'm
part
only
two or
vaguely
something.
aware of that show, but
He's a cop. He's a
yeah.
cop, but he's a
Okay.
good cop. But
Oh, look at that.
he's on, yeah, right. But he's just on the fringe of,
I see. I
he's
see.
good, but everything he does is like,
He's the bad cop. He's like the good cop, bad cop partnership. He's the bad cop. I don't know.
yes,
Okay.
he's the hard ass,
Yeah.
um, who plays by his own rules. He's always getting
Uh-huh.
in trouble, even though he's truly doing the right thing. It's always the wrong thing when it comes to like the law. He catches the bad guy, but he did it the wrong way, type of thing.
Right. Right.
Um,
He was
so
also on SVU at least twice, and both times he's
he
played
was the bad guy.
the bad guy. And he's in one of them. He's like a recurring bad guy, like which they don't do
Ooh,
very often. He's like he's not a serial killer or a serial rapist. Well, maybe he is a serial rapist. I don't know, but he's definitely one that like gets away with it or like talk
okay,
lawyers his way out of the first initial
yeah.
thing and then
And
comes back at least once. So
oh my god, so I mean, he's great. He's good at what he does. And it
yeah.
took me a second. The first time I saw him, I was like, I know this guy. And it took me a second because of how, I hate to say it, how old these episodes are now.
Yeah.
The people we know now are older. And so you have to be like, oh
Yes.
wait, that was them back, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So yes, and I loved him. I loved him in this. It was a simple role for him. You know, it was
Yeah.
a simple
Yeah.
role, but I think he played it. He did a very good job
Yeah.
on it.
All right. So in our recap, which is a road so far kind of recap, not just a
Yes,
then, and it comes complete with its own little soundtrack
yes.
of
Long way home,
yep.
foreigner.
Um it's a pretty simple recap. It's just kind of the events of last week plus some cameos from Rufus and the Roadhouse gang. So
Yes,
we know we're
I
gonna
did
see
big
them.
exclamation point. I went Rufus, Alan, Joe. I'm like, when I saw that, I was like, yay, we get to see them.
2 years since we've seen them.
Yeah, and it like it for a hot second. I was like, did they die? You know, I
Right.
had to think back.
Right.
I'm like, did they die? Did I
Yeah.
just forget? But it also hit on it was a big chunk of like Sam struggling with his powers,
Mhm.
struggling with you know, the his addiction, you know, like the demon blood
Mhm.
addiction. Um they glanced on, you know, Dean being the Michael sword.
Yeah.
Um and starting the apocalypse. That oops. And it ended, of course, with I don't think that I can trust you, with Dean not trusting Sam.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um and I had to ask, was there a long gap, do you know, between episode 1 and 2? Did I ask you this last time?
Like physically? Like airtime?
Yeah,
Let me see.
airtime.
No, just 1 week.
Okay.
Why?
Okay. I don't
Because
know,
of
there was just
the
it just seems like there was like it was because it was like you said, it was more of a the road so far as opposed to
mhm.
just a recap. I was just wondering why they hit the, you know, the road so far.
I'm guessing it's because this really hit the meat of like the story that they're going for this year. I don't know, kind of meant to be an extra long premiere episode. Not that I think
Okay.
it houred for, it aired as a 2-hour episode, but maybe that's kind of what their plan
Okay.
was.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, it
because
just
yeah, I
struck
felt
me
like the
as
first one was like the immediate aftermath, the events of the season
yes.
4 finale. And then this one is okay, what did that set into effect, you
Right.
know, for
Right.
the long haul?
What got into what motion? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious. So we open up with Bobby in a
Yeah.
wheelchair suffering the after effects of him stabbing himself to kill the
Mhm.
demon that
Yeah.
had possessed him. I love that Bobby is like in this fluffy little blue robe,
Yeah.
sitting in a wheelchair. Now, I have to say again, the way the scene is set up in this hospital room, it's only meant to be glanced at, but of course I didn't just glance at it. I kind of leaned into it, which is I
Mhm.
apologize for what I'm about to say. But he's in this wheelchair, he's in this sad baby blue robe, he's looking out the window. Sam is watching him from outside the door. In the hallway, there's a sign on the wall that's like, you know, patient exercise facility, patient bathing facility. So clearly, Bobby's in a space where he cannot take care of himself. You
Mhm.
know, he literally has to be taken down the hall to be bathed or to be exercised. He's needing a lot of care. On his bedside table, actually, on his bed table tray, there's, you know, a cup of water and there's a Bible, which I thought was interesting that he was thumbing through.
Mm.
You don't see him thumbing through, but the Bible is open on his, you know, bed table. So then we see Dean walk in. So sorry, I did a little deep dive on just how sad that Bobby is. No words are spoken at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Dean walks in holding a giant, you know, envelope of X-rays that it
Yeah.
turns out he went and got himself X-rayed,
Yeah,
and
of
it
his
turns
own
out,
chest, and it's
yes,
just
of his
like they are all tattooed up, his rib bones and his
his ribs are
sternum.
just like, yeah, they're like carved Enochian sigils,
Could you
you know,
imagine being the
the
X-ray tech,
the
like,
tech.
finding that?
What the?
How did you
And he's
do
like,
this?
yeah, not only that, but then Dean is like, yeah, you got him too.
Yep,
To
yep.
Sam. And it was very elaborate too. I mean, it wasn't just
Mhm.
like a couple of like sigils here and there. It was like every
No,
rib bone
covered.
had,
Yeah.
yes, yes. And then Cass calls Sam on the cell phone, on his cell phone, and it's like, where are you guys? And I
Because
thought it was
not
weird.
only these sigils hide them from angels, but it's all angels. Cass is an
All angels.
angel, so it's like I gotta
Yeah,
find you the old way. I
it's
don't
like I gotta
say.
call you, which I thought was hysterical.
So Cass is there to tell them that he's going to find the one being that can help them with their ludicrous plan to kill Lucifer, because they can't just go in by themselves and kill
Right.
the devil. You know,
And who would that be? Who can help them?
well, that would be God.
That would be God. But at the same time, he also has to tell Bobby, who's like, step up, feather boy, and heal me, lay on those healing hands. Cass is like, oh, I can't because I'm cut off
Yeah,
from heaven.
yeah,
I'm cut off from heaven's powers. I can't do that.
yeah,
But let's go find God. God can do it.
yeah.
Title splash.
Yes.
Which I forgot to mention that because we described what the title splash is with the blood and the water type of thing. I
Yeah.
forgot to mention that there's also this like heartbeat, the boom, boom,
Mhm.
boom, boom,
Mhm.
which I don't know why I didn't know that last time, but um, added little supernatural boom, booms. So coming back from the title splash, Dean has doubts about God's existence at all, and Cass is like shuts that down. He's like,
Yeah.
it's not about theology at this point. It's about what does he say?
It's like strategic or something,
Strategic,
strategy.
exactly. It's not about your belief. It's this is the person who can. This is the thing that's going to help you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he put you on the airplane. He,
Yep.
brought me back from being exploded. So,
Yeah.
yeah, he's going to have to do it. And he also reminds Dean that I killed two of my brothers for you and you
Yes.
failed your mission. So,
Yes.
shut up.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, keep your opinions to yourself. I am hunted. I am on the run. I did all of this for you. I gave up everything and I got nothing.
Mhm.
Keep your little human opinions to yourself. And I wrote down, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. I love it when Cass has these moments of strength
Mhm.
because too often in the coming seasons, he's very much the comic foil. I mean, I like that he's the comic foil. I do like
Yeah.
that. They have his moments. But when he shows his strength like this, it really makes you want to follow Cass's lead,
Mhm.
as opposed to him just being the butt of jokes.
Right. And they
Um,
they they start into it a little bit here. I don't remember what he said, but I remember, chuckling a little bit about
about looking for Jesus on a flatbread,
yes, yes, he is not on
yeah,
a
on a
flatbread,
tortilla.
Dean.
Yes.
Cass is there with them because he needs an amulet in order to find God, because this special amulet burns in the presence of God when it is near it. And like everyone's looking at each other like, well, I don't know why you're
Yeah,
here because
yeah.
we don't have an
Bobby's like,
amulet
I
like
don't
that.
have it. Yeah, yeah, and then pointed glance at Dean's chest,
Hmm.
is at the Samulet, and Cassiel says, I need your amulet. Dean says, no. No, I don't think so. But here's a question about the Samulet. Knowing what we know, is this going to be a spoiler? I can say spoiler alert. Knowing what we know, that he's saying that the amulet glows in the presence of God.
Hmm.
Why hasn't it? I'm just going to leave it at that.
Well, because I do know the answer to this. Because this was never the thing to begin
The
with.
never the thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
like they knew that Dean wanted to have accoutrements and like trinkets and things. And then whatever season it was that Sam gave it to him, they're like, oh, we can put a little backstory of why this necklace is so special to Dean. It's because his brother
Okay.
gave it to him. And then it wasn't until this episode that it became
A
even
thing.
more something.
Okay.
And I'm also going to
Oh,
gonna burst your bubble a little bit. Jensen actually didn't like this necklace.
I know it chipped his tooth.
Yeah.
It chipped his tooth during a fight scene. He was like, done with
Yeah,
it.
so he was like
Yeah.
so happy to get rid of this necklace for this season to be like, yes, take it.
Yeah.
Take it.
Yeah, no, that's not bursting my bubble at all. I was
Okay.
waiting for the moment to be able to tell everybody that one of the reasons that they got rid of it was because he literally chipped his tooth on it.
Yeah, because he kept forgetting to switch it out for the rubber one. Because there was a rubber version of it, but I don't know why he didn't just wear it all the time. I guess because it bounces too much.
I hate that. I hate that. So Dean reluctantly hands it over to Cass, and of course says the one thing that you should never say when you give something to somebody, which is "Don't lose this," which means you're gonna lose it.
Yeah.
Because I also just lost a set of keys to one of the rehearsal spaces I'm supposed to be working in. And don't lose these. Okay. Boop.
Next, cut to a scene of Rufus in the middle of a war zone,
Intense
essentially.
firefight with
Yeah.
some badass weapons. I tried to look up what it was that Rufus had,
No, his
and
gun, man.
it was a gun. It was a gun. It was like
A big old
a
gun.
military shotgun, like a
Yeah.
Spaz 12 or something. And that's the only thing
Yeah.
I could come up with. So
Yeah.
if you guys want to correct me on what the actual weapon was, it was badass and frightening.
Yes.
Um,
And as he's like pulling out one of his buddies to like
pull him
tie up
out of the
his
way.
bleeding
Oh
leg.
God, tourniquet him with a belt and a piece of
Tourniquet, yeah,
wood.
that's the word. He calls Bobby and is like, I need help. I am in a town infested with demons. I'm in River Pass, Colorado. Help, help, help. Shoot, shoot, shoot.
Yes,
So,
yes. Line goes dead. I did think it funny though that Bobby was on speed dial. I was like, good move, good move. But yeah, so Rufus is in River Pass, Colorado, which is a real town in the Rockies, so not a made up supernatural town. And so now Sam and Dean are on their way
yeah,
to
road
go
trip.
help Rufus. Yep. And as they're driving, they come up to this like blown out bridge, which means they can't go any further.
Yep.
They have to go into this town on foot. I just want to do another spoiler. I hate to do this. We will see this bridge again.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yes,
That's
it
what
is.
I
It
thought.
is. Yeah. Now, I also want to say I've seen this bridge before, and
Oh,
not in
in person?
Supernatural. No,
Oh,
in
oh.
other TV lands. I want to say that I saw it in any episode of The Walking Dead, but The Walking Dead is filmed
Oh,
in Georgia,
yeah, it
so I
is.
know that this probably wasn't the same bridge, but
No.
it's very familiar to me. I've seen this in TV land, not in real life.
Oh, it was probably in
Um,
Psych a couple of times.
right?
I mean, I
Maybe.
think they film like the same.
Everything
They
in
shared a
Canada.
lot of locations. Yeah.
Yes.
Um.
Yes, indeed.
So yep, bridge is out. There's no cell reception. It's like, all right, I guess we're hiking since the demons have this place like on lockdown.
Yep. Insert Spirit in the Sky
I know. I love
is
that song.
playing.
I love the
Love
the
this song.
soundtrack of this episode.
It's
I
very good.
also really like the transition. It's very cute the way that they did this, where they're walking into the town, like the music is playing as a
We
soundtrack
hear it.
piece.
We hear it. Yes.
They're seeing like all the like car wrecks like everywhere. There's a car upside down, there's a
There's
car that's
shattered
smashed up ahead.
glass.
It's just
Yep.
like a lot of ruin everywhere. And then they come
Chaos.
up,
But
yeah, chaos. And then they come up to another car that's still running. And then the music is coming from the car and the radio.
from the
And I was
car.
like, oh, that's cute.
That's so awesome. I had to look that up though. I was like, what is that in TV speak? And it is called diegetic music. Diegic music. It
Hmm.
starts as extra diegetic, which means the characters don't hear it, only we do. And when
Mm-hmm.
it becomes source music or diegetic, like the radio that they're
Mm-hmm.
hearing, yeah, then it becomes diegetic music. So diegetic
Fun.
sound, I
Yeah.
guess, or source music. And I was like, I
Oh.
loved the way they did that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I also want to do another spoiler. The car that they walk up to that is still running, that then
Mm-hmm.
that has the music playing on the radio. We will see this car again.
Okay.
Yep. It's a 78 Lincoln Continental. We will see this again. Not in
Okay.
this episode. We will see it again down the road.
I think I know what you're talking about. Also, just a fun little Easter egg. There's that banner that's across the town that says
The
Pioneer Days.
Pioneer Day. Yeah.
Two of the pictures on there, the one who is labeled as Grant Marshall is the production designer named Jerry Wanick, and the one that's labeled as Rodeo Queen is the
Yes.
graphic artist Lee Ann Elshuk.
That's hysterical. It went by so fast. I was like, I should probably pause and look at that.
It happened. It happened to be in like some little research then. Yeah.
That's adorable because I was like, I
Yeah.
know those people have got to be somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is like a little like Americana town. Green lawns, sprinkler going, kids' toys,
Yeah,
just
it's
this
weird. Like
sweet little.
all the outlying houses and stuff
Mhm.
seem very normal. There's sprinklers and stuff. It's like in the middle of the road is like where everything
Yes, it's just
is
chaos.
going.
Yeah, so the
Yeah.
day was happening and then something else happened and now everybody's gone today.
Yeah.
Like this all just happened.
Yeah. And as they're coming up to one of the cars that has a giant pool of blood stain on the concrete.
and a and a crushed baby stroller
Oh yeah, yeah,
next
that
to
too.
it. Yeah, it's like the music changes. I mean, because they've
Mhm.
turned off the radio of the other car, and now it's gone from like jaunty, to
Yeah.
serious and like something is wrong. I mean, if you didn't
Yeah.
notice before, but now it's really wrong.
Yeah.
Um, oh, but not before Dean comes across a like this cherry red Mustang.
Mhm.
So out of all the chaos, there's all these flipped cars, and they're all kind of like, I don't want to say hoopties, but they're all kind of dated vehicles.
Yeah.
And there's this like 1965 like Mustang GT, whatever, whatever. And of course, Dean is taken, of course, taken aback by it for a second. He's taken out of the fact that they're in this town where there's chaos. He's like, "Ooh, sweet car,"
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. A squirrel.
And then they stumble upon the pool of blood and the crushed
Yeah.
baby stroller, and the tone completely changes. Now they're back into hunter mode. Something is seriously wrong here.
Yeah. And someone, sneaks up on them at with a gunpoint, and it's Ellen.
It's
Hi,
Ellen
Ellen.
who cocks a giant freaking
Yeah.
gun at them, and they're like, "Hey!" She doesn't say anything except like, "Hey, boys," and then douses Dean with holy water.
Yeah.
Again, Dean is the one who gets it full in the face, and he's like, "Hey, we're us."
Right. Still
Ellen
doesn't
doesn't say
say
anything,
anything. She just
just
leads them into like a church that's across the street.
right, where they have to cross over a line of salt and under and over a devil's trap.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
not until the both of them have cleared those two hurdles that she turns and is like, finally, she's like, "Oh
Yeah.
my god, it's so good to see you guys."
Yeah.
You
Slap,
know,
how dare you for not calling me?
yes. And again, it's Dean who gets
Yep.
across the face. Like, what is wrong with you? Like full mom mode, full Ellen that we love.
Yeah.
Um,
Although it is kind of like it's still weird though, because it's like they haven't mentioned Ellen or Joe or anybody from the Roadhouse in the past
right?
two
Which is
seasons,
which is why I was like, did they die? That's why I totally was like, what happened?
Yeah, I think it's been 2 seasons because the last time we saw Ellen, right, was when they were trying to close the gates of hell, in which
Mhm.
Ghost Dad came out and they shot Yellow Eyes.
Right? But it just makes me think that because it was Joe who said to Dean, "Your father got my father killed," right? It's
Yeah.
my dad is dead because of your dad.
Mm.
And that's how she left things. She's like, I can't. And she like walked away,
We
which
see
makes me
her one
think,
more time after that. We see her,
well, when Sam is possessed
yeah, when
by,
Sam is possessed. Yeah.
yeah,
Anyway, it's been a long time,
it's
and she's just like, "How dare you not call me?" It's like, dude, I haven't really ever called her before, but okay, it's fine.
okay. Yes,
I'm just happy to see
exactly.
her. Believe me, I'm happy,
Yes.
very, very happy to see her. So she leads them into like what I was calling a safe room throughout this whole episode, where there's just like a smattering of people, maybe like a dozen or so, maybe
Yeah,
less.
but it's like your stereotypical, I hate to say it, hate to be this person, but it's like your stereotypical group of survivors. You've got the pregnant woman, you've got the priest, you've got the widow, you've got the soldier guy,
Yeah,
it's like,
and, and then the
okay.
random others. Yeah.
And I love Ellen. She's like, so this is like end of times, and he's like, yeah,
Yeah.
pretty
I feel like that's actually very close to what the Walking Dead cast was, which this happened way before Walking Dead, but
yes,
I'm pretty sure there was a pregnant person, there was a sheriff, there was
yes,
an ex
yes,
war guy.
ex-military, yes.
There was not a
There's like a
preacher, but there was a godly folk kind of
Yep, there's
guy.
like the survivalist
Yeah.
person. Yes. Very
Like your
funny.
typical kind of like video game sort of thing. It's very
Yes,
funny.
yes,
So
exactly.
yeah, the soldier, he shows off his gun.
His gun
Um,
knowledge.
yeah.
Yes, he can disassemble and reassemble a gun.
But yeah, she's just like, so here's what's going on. There's tons of demons. One of them has, no, she doesn't know that Joe is one of them yet. She just has separated from Joe.
Yes, and Rufus.
Yeah. And, while the boys are like, well, let's go fight. And she's like, yeah, we tried that. There used to be a
Yeah,
lot more of us.
yeah. Now there's less than half of what we
Yeah.
had. Yeah, so that's scary. But Sam and Dean, of course, are like, well, we got to go. Let's go
Yeah.
rescue
Stock up.
everybody. Yeah, so they noticed that there was a hardware store. They noticed there was a grocery store, so they're going to go get guns and salt.
Guns and
So,
salt.
yep. So they head off together. But once they leave the basement, they stop and have a Sam and Dean moment of, you can stay.
Hmm.
I can go do this. Dean's like, you should stay. I can go do the rescuing.
Yeah.
And Sam's
Yeah.
like, what do you mean? Let's do this together. Let's be hunters. Let's be smart about this. And Dean kind of acquiesced. He's like, okay, so Sam heads to the Quickie Mart for salt, and Dean heads off to the hardware store for guns. We see Sam like collecting, sneakily throwing salt into his bag. But while he's in the Quickie Mart, two like youth, like teenage guys come in.
Utes.
Youths, these two youths come in, and I guess they also had the same idea, not salt, but they just wanted supplies.
Yeah, they're just stocking up, but he
Yeah,
sees them in the reflection of that, mirror ball
the
camera thing.
mirror ball, the curved mirror, fish
And he
eyes.
tries to
Yeah,
reach for his gun, but he makes too much noise, and of course the demon
yeah,
guys see him, and then they start
yeah,
attacking.
yeah.
Sam tries to exercise one of them, but
Yes,
can't get his
yes,
words out.
because he's
They're
being
fighting too
choked
hard.
by the demon.
So he's forced to, acquiesce and take his knife out, the demon blade, and he
And
stabs
stab
both of
him.
them.
Yep.
Which to
And
note, there's no like red electric demon
there's no
death once
flashy
they're stabbed.
flash.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so while Sam is like looking at the carnage of like this blood pooling out of the guys, he looks at the demon blade and he sees, the blood dripping off the blade. He runs his thumb into the blood. And of course I'm thinking, oh, is he gonna, lick it or
Mm-hmm.
whatever? And just then Dean comes in. Now, having watched it more than just one time, the second or third time that I was watching this, I had the same thing. I was like, where was because when he first pulled out the knife and stabbed the demons, you couldn't tell that it was the demon blade that he had. And you didn't know he had the
Mm.
demon blade until he was looking at it with the blood dripping off of it. And it wasn't until the second or even third time that I watched this that I went, oh, you're right. No electricity, no demon flash, no nothing. So I thought in that moment, the first time I was like, oh no, he's going to try to drink the demon blood. Second and third time I watched it, I was like, is he thinking, oh my gosh, where was the flash? This is just blood. And that's when Dean came in and saw him staring at the blood on his knife and the blood on his thumb, and seeing Sam being very confused in that moment. Was Sam confused that there was no demon flash, or was he confused because he was fighting over, do am I tempted to taste this blood?
I think the latter, because I don't think maybe subconsciously he was thinking, oh, they didn't die the way they usually die, but
Yeah.
no, I don't think so, because it's not until a little bit later that
The realization,
both
yeah,
of the guys are like, wait a minute, something is weird here.
right. So I noticed it because I watched it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
They didn't notice it because it happened just once.
Yeah.
They were in the heat of battle and trying to save their own lives.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so I get it, but it's still, I was like, I had that question. I just felt, but I also felt so bad because Sam hadn't done anything wrong. And Dean, while he looked at him questioningly,
Mm-hmm.
a little suspiciously, I was like, he didn't do it. He
I
didn't do
know.
anything
He chose
wrong.
not to. I mean, yeah, he was
Yes.
tempted, but just because he's
Yes.
standing there in the middle of a pool
Like,
of demon blood,
yeah, it doesn't
doesn't
mean that
mean
he,
that
he
he
didn't
did.
have
Yeah, there
the,
was
he
nothing
didn't
on
have
his
like a
face.
stupid face blood.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
I still
So
felt bad. It was like,
I know.
just the worst timing for Dean,
Yes.
to
Yes.
walk in on that. So, They go, nothing happens. They go back to the
Yeah,
basement, and
yeah.
where Ellen is giving like guns 101 to, the
To
civilians.
everybody, yeah, the
Yes.
Fallujah guy, he's showing off, and um,
um,
Dean
but
brags he's a soldier of hell.
yes, yes. But Dean does notice that Sam has not joined the group. He's off to the side. He's looking, I don't want to say melancholy, but he's looking pensive. And Dean actually takes the time to say, what's up?
Yeah.
What's going on? Is everything okay? And Sam notably, mentions that these were teenagers.
Hmm.
I just slit the throat of teenage kids. Like, I used to help people. We used to saving people. We used to save people.
Well, I think he was more towards, I used to be able to save the person when I could magically choke the
Could
demon out of
pull, yes,
them, with my
yes,
demon blood powers. So I think that's what he was saying was,
yeah. I
I
still
wish
just
that I
I
could have saved him.
saved him
I think
instead of
referring back to his
he,
attempt at
yeah,
exercising them.
exercising them. Yeah, I get it, but I also was like, I want to refer back to hunting things, saving people, but that could just be me.
Yeah. And you're right.
Um,
Here is where then they get in a little scuffle where Ellen wants to go find Joe and Sam is like, "Okay, I'll go with." And Dean's like, "No, no, no, no. I'll go. I'll
yeah,
go. It's all right." And
right. And
then
Sam's like,
yes.
so you don't trust me? You don't think I've
Yeah.
learned my lesson? And Dean says, I don't know. Have you? Sam shoves Dean, but neither one of them take it any further,
Yeah.
which I was like, commendable,
Yeah. It's like
commendable.
not the
Sam,
time.
yep. Sam gets himself under control. Dean sees where this is going, and of course, Ellen sees this.
Yes.
Um,
And brings it up when they're on their little walkabout around the town.
walk well. Yep.
And Sam's vague about why there's so much tension around there. And then she just mentions, I know Joe can't really handle this hunter's life, but, at
She's
least
gonna
I'm
do it
around to keep an eye
anyway.
on her. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And how well did that work out?
Yeah.
Just saying. Uh, Sam is like, oh, look, chimney smoke. And hey, I didn't think demons got cold. So what are
Yeah, that
they?
needed a fire.
Yeah, what are they burning? And I was like, oh, good point. good, good point. Because, again, sometimes as hunters, they're like on it. They
Yeah.
suss out every detail, what it means to be a hunter as opposed to a civilian. But like in this episode, there's a lot of things they missed.
Hmm.
There's a lot of signals that they missed. But this one I was like, ah, good. So Sam's back in touch. He's back in hunter
Hmm.
mode.
Hmm.
Um, so when they go to check out this chimney, they go up onto the porch of this house, and unfortunately, Ellen is grabbed from behind.
Yeah.
Um,
They're both
and
jumped by demons, and one of them is Joe. After a scuffle, Joe traps her mom, and both of them are saying things to each other like, "Don't hurt her. Get out of my mom, you black-eyed
you
bitch."
black-eyed bitch, yes, yes. But Ellen is looking at Joe, and Joe has black eyes. We
Hmm.
don't see Ellen with black
Ellen's point of
eyes.
view, yeah. Or I mean,
Yeah,
Joe's point of view. Hmm.
yeah. So, and we see a little bit of confusion on Ellen's face when Joe says, "Get out of my mom, you black-eyed bitch,"
Yeah.
because she's like, "Huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why?"
Then Rufus joins in the fight. He takes down Sam, and Sam is able to, I don't know, distract the other guys, including Joe, and says, "Ellen, just get out of here and go."
Yeah,
So he sacrifices himself to the group in order
yes.
for Ellen to
Just
go.
as Rufus knocks him out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Sam wakes up tied to a chair under a devil's trap with a black-eyed Rufus and Joe staring at him.
Yeah.
They douse him with holy water. They they force open his mouth and they force salt down his throat the whole time. Sam's like, "Wait, no, wait, what are you
Yeah,
doing?
yeah,
No,
they're
don't do
doing an exorcism,
Yes,
and you can see like the confusion on both of their faces that
that it's
like none of
nothing
this is
is
working.
working." Yeah. And of course, the whole time Sam was like, "Can we just talk?
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
we just talk about this?"
Okay, so back in the basement with Ellen, she comes back with the unfortunate news Sam was taken. Dean
Oh,
tries to take off, and then she does convince him, or he convinces
he
himself
convinces
rather.
himself not to
He's
go
like,
running off.
"Okay, I need a plan. I need a
Yep,
plan."
yep. And I just want to say, I want to point out that once again, these group of, I'm just going to keep calling them civilians because they're not hunters and they're not military except for the military guy, but they're doing the cliche praying together, which is, reciting the psalm, was it Psalm 23 of, oh yay, though I walk through the shadow of the valley,
Hmm.
whatever, the valley of death. And it's so cliche. And I really despise it. I know what it's for. I know it's to give comfort, and to banish fear. I understand that, but it's just done every single time there's a group of people who aren't acting on their circumstances, that all they can do is sit and pray about it. I'm like, it just bothers me. I know people need comfort in time of fear and chaos. I get it. I
Yeah, I
believe
think
me.
it's necessary in this just because it does involve demons.
Yes. Yeah.
Um
It's just
and
cliche.
there is a preacher there, to kind of
Yes.
head this. And
Yeah.
coming from small town America, it does feel very much like what
Okay. I
what a
just
group of people would do in
okay.
in a time like
I get
this. It wouldn't be about
it.
survival. It would be about
Right.
like, oh God, Lord, please, Jesus, save us.
Please, son, Jesus, take the wheel. Somebody do something. I get it. I get it. It's still for me very cliche. Um, so like you said, Deem almost runs out, leaving everybody behind, but decides to put a plan together. And he turns to them and says, "Okay, tell me everything. Like I
Hmm.
need to know what is going on."
Yeah.
So we cut to like Sam back in the chair, Rufus and Joe. Why isn't this working?
Yeah. And now we
um,
do see their viewpoint. They're looking at Sam, and Sam
yeah,
has black eyes. And
black
while he
eyes.
has his black eyes, he's like, "No, guys, wait, something's wrong. Can't you see?
I,
Let's just talk." He's-
Yeah, yeah. But then at the same time, he sees one of the basement guys
Mhm.
standing in the doorway, kind of just watching what's going on.
Yeah,
And it's Mr. He's the widow guy.
yeah,
Who's we didn't mention this earlier, but his story was his wife tried to kill him with a brick.
yeah.
Um, and that's how he knew that she was a demon.
Possessed. Yeah,
Um, he's just kind of hovering in the doorway, like, what's going on in here?
yeah, yeah.
And Sam's like, "Hey, it's you.
Roger. Yeah.
What are you doing here?"
He does a little, something, something with his ring on his finger,
Yes,
and everything goes a little bit more crazy. I don't
yes.
even remember exactly what happened. I just know that there's a
It
cause and
was
effect with this.
it was because we don't see that Sam has black eyes until he does the twirly thing with his
Oh,
ring.
maybe,
And
maybe.
then we actually see his eyes go black, and you just see him like confused face, like, "What are you guys looking at? What's going on?"
Yeah,
And his eyes are black, but he has Sam confused face, which is kind of
yeah.
funny because demons can control when their eyes are black or when they're
That's
not.
true. Yeah.
So the fact that he was all like confused faced.
So back in the safe room, first
Yep.
Ellen tells Dean about Joe and her calling Ellen a black-eyed bitch. And then it's like, what kind of demons are these? Holy water and salt like don't do anything.
Yep.
It's just like they're
Yep.
impervious. And
Plus,
then,
Joe has a an anti-possession
oh yeah,
charm
yeah, yeah,
too.
yeah.
So what's up with that?
Hmm. And then she said Rufus came here because there was some sort of omen with the water.
Yep.
And now the locals are finally helpful. And they're saying, like, oh, yeah, it ran really polluted. And then the next day, the demons showed up. Also, there was
Yep.
this random shooting star that was really big. I don't know if that is
Has
helpful at
anything to do with
all.
it? Yes. And Dean's like, yes. And then
Helpful to
Soldier Guy
know.
is
Thank
like, is
you.
this a is this like an X Files?
Yeah.
No, wait, what does he say? Is this all from outer space? And Dean says this isn't an X Files, which
Yeah.
I have to admit, the humor behind the characters of Supernatural know about the TV show The X Files, given that 90% of the crew of Supernatural were involved in the TV show,
Yeah.
The X Files. I just love that. I love that Supernatural lives in a world where X Files exists.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. I absolutely love it. Would that be considered meta? Is that what that is?
A little bit. Marvel does that all the time.
Yeah.
I'm specifically thinking of the movie Captain Marvel, where Stan Lee is on a bus somewhere reading
Oh
a
God.
comic book of, I don't remember what it was, but it was one of his own comic books. And that's super meta. And I know it really bothered one of my friends who was just like, Well, that means that he wrote her. I don't know. He just was.
Oh,
Oh, I know
no,
what
it
it was. He
doesn't.
was he
Oh,
was reading the script of Mallrats, in which he was a cameo in, which is all about like comic book stuff. So that means Stanley exists in this universe, which means he wrote Captain Marvel. Which I understood where he was coming from, but it's just like you're reading way too much into it, dude. It's just
yes,
fun. Stanley has
yes,
to have a cameo. You know this.
yes. That's kind of like anytime Gene Roddenberry's wife had a cameo on Star Trek, which, if you didn't know who she was, you didn't know who
Yeah,
she was. But
yeah.
when she was
The-
on, she was always these like outrageous characters, which was hysterical. So Dean, still trying to figure things out when he gets the information about the star falling from the sky and the poisoned water,
Mhm.
knows that this is something biblical. So he whipped out the Bible and he's able to find Revelation 8:10,
Mhm.
which is, a star falls from the heaven and into the waters, poisons the waters. Some people drink, some people die, some people are merely poisoned, but a lot of people die,
Yeah.
which is actually Revelation 8:10.
Yeah.
Um,
Which would probably explain why the Bible was on Bobby's bedside table. They were probably studying up on signs of the apocalypse since, they started it.
yes,
Like,
since it is nigh.
yes, we guess we better brush up on some of this research.
Yes,
Um, and
yes.
luckily, old preacher there is
He's there to
knowledgeable.
say,
He's here to
yes,
say, it's like, oh, this is the coming signs of the four
the
horsemen.
omen of the four horsemen. Yep. I also love that at the end of that, he's like, wait, did you guys say the apocalypse?
Yeah.
After he helps like decipher it, he's like,
Yeah.
wait, really?
Yeah.
Apocalypse? I felt bad for him. But yeah, I thought it was interesting though, because I read a little bit into Revelation 8:10, and I thought that Supernatural did a spin on it, and they didn't. They didn't, because while it's not specifically war related, Four
Huh?
Horsemen war related, it is an omen of the apocalypse. And the story is that it poisoned the waters, but people can only live so long without water that they were willing to drink the
Drink it.
water and take the chance of being poisoned, and that's how people died. But the what that did was sow chaos, in that if there's no water, people are going to fight over resources, and that's the chaos that was inflicted with the wormwood uh,
Mhm.
star. So I thought that was very interesting on Supernatural's part.
Yeah.
I also like that Dean, in processing, the four horsemen, what color horse does War ride? The red horse.
No, he
Or,
asks like which one is red because
oh,
he
okay, which one
saw
is
the
red?
red
Red
Mustang,
Mustang.
which is
So he
also
didn't know that
cute
it
that
was
it's a
War
Mustang. No,
until
no,
it was
he
the
was just
priest
like,
who said,
you know what, the red car is the horse.
and it's the priest who filled in the gap with
Yes,
War.
with war.
So now they know that War is here in person.
Yeah. And Dean and Ellen have figured it out. It's like, okay, War is just a dude. What if there's no demons at all? It's just him like turning everybody against each other.
Right. We think they're demons. They think we're demons.
And now back to Sam. War is there as Roger. Sam has kind of figured it out that, well, at least he's not like, okay, you're not human. So
Right,
what are
because
you?
War sits down in the room with him and has a little monologue. I
Yeah,
was like,
gives him some nice
and
little riddles as clues to
yes,
who he is. He's like, I've got three siblings.
yep. I was in
Um,
Darfur when my pager went off, meaning
yeah,
when you guys opened the door for Lucifer, which I
yeah,
think two
yeah.
things were hysterical. A, that he has a beeper. He didn't say pager, he said beeper, which cracks me up. And B, that it was Sam and Dean who called him away from,
Yeah,
his atrocities in Darfur.
yeah.
Um, yes, and we're gonna have some fun. Me and my siblings, we're gonna have some fun. Sam figures it out, but mentions, he's like, but War actually said, he's like, oh, you're War and you're doing all this, and War says, you guys didn't need me to do. You're all doing this on your own.
Yeah, it's like I just blew up a bridge and I gave you a little bit of hallucinations, and the
Yeah,
rest
you
was
guys are
just up to
vicious
you.
animals. You guys
Yeah,
decided to murder each other over this. You see what you want to see,
yeah,
which I thought was interesting. But he also tells Sam what Sam doesn't want to hear, which is, I can see inside your mind.
yeah,
And what I
yeah.
see is blood, blood, blood.
Yeah, he
I
was
want
very specific
power.
because he said, like, when you
Yep.
were staring at the blood on the knife after you stabbed those guys,
Yep.
and I see your lust for power.
Lust for power, and I want to be strong again. He's
Yeah,
like, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. You may think that you want to be strong to help people, but that's not what this is.
yeah,
And while he's doing that, War twists his ring, and like blood starts kind of seeping out of his head.
yeah.
And then he starts
He's
screaming,
fighting with himself.
essentially.
Yeah, he just
Yes.
like makes a scene
Why you hate
in order,
yourself?
yeah,
Yeah.
in order
Yeah.
for Rufus and Joe to come in, and he's like, "Oh my God, he did it!" And he said, like, they're gonna attack us. All the demons are gonna come here first.
Wait, poor Sam, still tied to the
I
fucking
know. He's
chair.
like,
It's
"No,
like he's
I
like, I
didn't."
didn't do
Yeah.
it. It's like I can't raise my arms over my head, you know.
Yeah.
But of course
Um,
that doesn't prevent Rufus from like bitch slapping,
yeah,
you know, poor Sam
yeah.
again.
And then back in the basement safe room place, Roger is like pounding on the door and he comes in and he's like, "Oh my God, I just
The
ran into
demons
one
are
of the
out
demons
there.
and they said that they're gonna come and get us, so we gotta go kill them before they kill us." And but he doesn't know that Dean knows that I can't do the whole speech. I don't even remember what it is.
That's
But
okay.
Dean
They
is
don't
like,
know.
"Wait,
We
wait,
know. We
wait,
know.
wait a minute.
Yeah.
Where were you? When did you go? Like,
Yeah.
there are
He's
no
trying to be
demons."
yeah, he's all level-headed, but the rest of the freaking, civilians are like, "What? They're
Yeah.
demons?" Yeah, and so War Guy twists his ring, and now Ellen and Dean, their eyes turn black, and they're like, "It's demons!" And they all pick up their guns to try to shoot Ellen and Dean, and Ellen and Dean see them like, "Oh, crap," like, reaching
Yeah.
for the guns.
Yeah.
They head
Whoop,
out.
we gotta
Yep,
go.
they gotta go. So luckily, they didn't train them too well on the use of weapons. So in the meantime, Joe and Rufus are booby trapping the house.
Yeah, with pipe bombs in the windows. And poor Joe
Pipe
is like,
bombs.
"But my mom." And
My mom may want to come in, but Rufus is like, yeah, but they
yeah,
move
she'll be
slower
fine.
with no legs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the pipe bombs goes off while they're
Setting other pipe bombs.
yeah. And then while they're like scoping the scene out, of course we get a jump scare, a nice jump scare moment.
Yes,
Dean
I
pulling
loved it.
Rufus out of the window,
Yes,
Ellen grabbing Joe,
yep,
and then they each convince the other of what is actually going on.
yes. I love though that Ellen middle names Joe.
Yes.
She's like, "You will listen to me, Joanna Beth Harvell." You know? And at the same time, Dean is wrestling with Rufus outside. Rufus, I think, takes a little bit more convincing because he ends
Yes.
up like not listening to Dean, kicking him in the nuts, and then wrestling with him some more. And finally, Dean is able to say, "It's the horseman. It was the water. It was, and he's able to convince Rufus to that there's logic. There's logic here. And then as Rufus is gaining understanding, like Dean's eyes clear and he no longer has
The
black
black
eyes.
eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. And they go inside the house where Elle and Joe are, and they're like, "Are we good? Are we on the same
Yeah.
page?" And then it's Dean's like, "Hey, Joe," and Joe's like, "Hey," and that's it. That's the only
Well, they don't have
reunion
any
moment.
time. Yeah, they have no time for reunion because the other group has now caught up and is shooting inside of the
Shooting
house.
at them. I know, but I was like, "That's it. That's the only
I know.
reunion."
I know.
Um,
And so while they
are
they
going
try
to
to
free
like keep it
Sam.
under
Yeah.
control, Dean goes to free Sam. And they both at the same time when they get into the room are like, "It's war." And I love now it doesn't
their
happen
same
very
time stuff.
often. Yes, like when they figure it out on their own, in
Yes,
different ways, because it shows that they're both smart.
and they're brothers.
Yeah, they're like in
They
sync.
yes, exactly.
But Sam does have the crucial information to Dean is like, "Oh, he does it with his ring."
With his
And
ring,
then Dean's like, "Oh yeah,
exactly.
I did see him do that before like the group turned on us."
So in the meantime, though, the civilians are still shooting at everybody. The priest gets shot. You know, I think somebody else gets shot, and Rufus is like, stop firing," and
Yeah.
ends up yanking the gun out of someone's hand. He's like, "Stop firing means stop firing," you know. But at the same time, Ellen's been tackled by Soldier Boy. I shouldn't say soldier boy. I should say by soldier guy. Sorry.
Soldier boy.
Soldier boy,
Um,
wrong.
Points his gun at her.
Pulls the trigger
Yeah, and
and
nothing
it
happens.
misfires and nothing happens. So she like knocks the gun out of the way and then he pulls out a knife and is literally like pressing down on her, his strength
Yeah,
against
she's
hers.
managed to like hold up the gun in order to not slice her, but he just
Yeah.
sees black eyes in her the whole time.
So Sam and Dean, in the meantime, catch up to War
Yeah, who's trying
and
to get into his Mustang and
trying to
leave.
get into his sexy car and they grab him and they've got the demon blade. He's like, silly guys, you can't kill War. They're
Yeah.
like, we know. And in turn slice his fingers off and
Yes.
the blood sprays all over Sam, which I think is brilliant, which means now the spell is broken and so soldier guy who is looking at Ellen sees her eyes clear and suddenly stops. He doesn't kill Ellen. He was
Yeah.
very close to.
Everyone's eyes go to normal. It kind of seems like not only does everyone's eyes go back to normal, but it's like the veil was lifted completely.
Yeah,
Because even the guy who got his gun taken away from Rufus, he's like putting his head in his hands, like, oh my God, what
what
did we
just happened?
do? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because a part of me wanted to say, "You've seen them without the black eyes, so what makes you think that now everything's okay just because
Yeah.
their eyes have been cleared?" And it's because, like you said, the veil's been lifted. It's not just that their
Yeah,
eyes aren't black,
completely.
it's
Right.
that the hallucination is over.
Yeah. And then
So,
War and his horse have completely disappeared.
yes.
All is left is his ring. This car was actually super, super expensive to buy and the prop wise or scenic wise. And they were not allowed to do this like slicing thing on top of the
Anywhere
car.
near the car.
Yeah. Like that all the car guys were just really anxious and been like, get away from the car, don't touch it.
Oh my god, that's too funny. I could totally see that, of
Yeah.
course.
So
So
now we're in our
later,
wrap up scene,
later
where
down the road,
Dean throws a Mount Doom reference,
right? Lord
to
of the
this
Rings.
ring. Made me go, Lord of the Rings? Like that's a thing that you would be into.
Right? Well, everyone knows about Mordor. Come on, right? No.
Yes.
Well, yeah. So he's like, so what do we? How do we get rid of the ring? Or what do we do
Yeah.
with the ring? Do we like demolish it in Mount Doom?
Right.
And there's no answer to that, by the way.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
answer because
Yeah. See,
they
Sam
go
goes straight
into
into confession time.
yeah. I just want to point out how beautiful this
Oh my God, the
panoramic
scenery.
scene
Yeah, I
was.
know.
It was in such contrast to the chaos and destruction they just left. It was so beautiful to see them just sitting there at a park bench, picnic bench with like mountains and trees in the background. And it was just gorgeous and it was quiet,
Yeah.
and they weren't alone, but they also weren't like in the middle of anything. And I just thought that was a nice juxtaposition to the destruction they just left.
Right.
Um, but and now they're having the talk,
Hmm.
another brothers talk. And Sam is the one who points out to Dean, he's like, we have to talk. And Dean says, no, we don't have to. But Sam says, we do.
Hmm.
You don't trust me. And that's okay because I don't trust myself. I don't. The problem is me. It's like I
Yeah.
can't blame the demon blood. I can't blame Ruby. The problem is actually me,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I
So
want that. I want those things.
yeah, he's still struggling with his instincts and his, frankly, his addiction to the blood, but not just the blood, but like what it
To
brings
the
him,
right, the
the
power
feeling that it brings him.
and the ability to help, the ability to save people. You
Yes.
know,
And that he knows is like, I tell myself it's for all these good
yes,
things, but
yeah,
but
it's
but they're not, they're not actually good.
right. He says, but I can see that, but that just means that I can't be a hunter.
Yeah.
I can't be around it. You can't trust me. I don't trust myself. And it's dangerous. And it's best we go our separate ways.
Hmm. And Dean doesn't argue. He's like, "Yep,
Right.
you're right."
Yeah, but he's not flippant about it though.
No,
That's
he's
the
not.
thing.
No, no, no. There's no
He's
fight.
he's
There's no
yeah.
There's no
It's like
rubbing
I
it in his face either. It's just a yes, that is a logical conclusion, and I agree with that
Yeah,
conclusion.
because I can't do my job because I'm always thinking about you. Which, if you think about it, when you flip back to this episode, he did that exact same thing. He was ready to rush off, try to save Sam, leaving all of those people
Yeah.
behind
Yeah.
unprotected. And he stopped and
Yeah.
he put those people ahead of Sam,
Mhm.
which normally he couldn't do. It's all about save Sam, save Sam.
Yeah.
Um, and so it definitely makes sense. And Sam says, I'm sorry. And Dean says, I know you are, which
Mhm.
is huge. The
Yeah.
apology, which was heartfelt and not whining, not like I'm
Yeah.
sorry. It was
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. And Dean accepted the apology and said, I know, as
Yeah.
opposed to it's not just words. It's not just coming out of you.
Yeah.
It's not just words.
Yeah.
And the ultimate sacrifice in this is that Dean says, I know you have to go, but do you want the Impala?"
I know, offers him the Impala, and not as a joke either. It was,
Yeah,
like, legitimate, like
thankfully. I think Sam said, no,
Yeah.
you know. And so goes and gets his duffel out of baby and hitches a ride with some Fisher camper guy,
Mhm.
and off he goes. And Dean is left behind at the picnic bench watching, Sam drive away to
And
be
somewhere
himself,
else.
to
Yeah,
find himself.
to
Yeah.
find himself.
And it wasn't, I mean, because this is not the first time that they've gone their separate ways. But like the first time, Sam left in a snit,
Yeah.
you know? It
That
was
was first season, right? When he first runs
yes,
into Meg
yeah,
before we know that she's Meg.
yes, exactly. Exactly. So he went off in a snit. And that was like younger brother, you know,
Yeah.
tantrum type of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This is I need to do what's right for the both of us, for me, so that we can be brothers
Mhm.
again.
Yeah, at our best.
And I get that. I 100% get that.
Yeah.
That's how my sister always was.
Mhm.
She she was always the one to come back and say, "Let's be sisters." You know, but we have to fix this, and then we can be sisters again. But if it was up to me, nah, I'd still be in a snit. Absolutely,
Yeah.
100%. I would still be in a snit somewhere. So I appreciate Sam in this moment
Yeah.
for having to do the hard thing, which is, as much as I want to be with my brother, I need to go. And so bravo for Sam for making the hard choice.
Yeah. And then
I'm
that's the
glad
end of that
that's the end.
episode.
And when it ended, I went, wait, what about Ellen and Joe? I
Yeah, and
literally was
Rufus
like,
and, like, the
I was like,
town and, what happened?
yeah. I was like, I don't care about the town. I care about Ellen, Joe, and Rufus. I was like, these are our people.
Yeah,
I
well,
don't care about the town. But I was like, that's it. There was no like, okay, I'll call you later, or hey, it was good to see you, or
I guess that was
no.
off camera, like,
Yeah.
that happened before they went to the
That was
picnic
off
bench.
camera. Yeah. It was in another scene that we just don't get to see.
Yeah, yeah.
But I literally wrote down, wait, that's it.
I know, it was a bummer to not see, "Oh, man, thanks."
Yeah, or a take care of yourself, boys, a
Mhm.
pat on the
Yeah.
bum from the mom character,
Right, right.
or the unspoken, we fucked up, Joe and Dean type of thing,
Yeah,
and Rufus.
right.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so we're left with, we don't know where Cass is. Bobby's still in a wheelchair, and we assume that Rufus, Ellen, and Joe are
I don't know, somewhere
off,
else,
off and off and running. So there you go. Episode 2, pretty good episode. I think it was
Yeah.
actually, as far as leading us further into
Mhm.
season 5. I'm glad they didn't overload us with Lucifer. Let Mark Pellegrino stew for a while.
Yeah, yeah, right. Now we know what the mission is.
Yes,
They took down one horseman, they got 3 more to go,
3 more, and
so
we
they
we
gotta
know
spread
how
that
to.
out through 20-ish episodes,
Yep, and we know how to get them. We know how to get the
Yes.
horsemen. Just gotta
Yeah.
get their rings.
Yep.
So good episode.
Yeah,
It was
I
good.
enjoyed this one. And I do like how they made the horses cars.
Yes.
Well, this one in particular
This
is a sports car. I got to
Yep.
be honest with you, I can't remember what the other cars are yet, but
I
we will get
Yeah, I
there.
don't remember either, but I do love that, it's not just hunters who get, like, classic muscle cars at this
Yeah, yeah.
point.
It's also biblical characters.
Yes, yes, I very good. I also think it's funny that they chose a Mustang for, I mean, it makes sense because it's a horse, but
Yeah.
also Mustang was, like, the original car that Kripke wanted Dean to drive.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was a Mustang,
Mm.
and it was one of Kripke's friends who's like, "You can't put a body in the trunk of a Mustang."
Oh.
So that's one of the reasons why they pivoted away from the
That's funny.
Mustang. Yeah,
The
yeah.
next one is Free to Be You and Me.
I wonder what song that one's about.
And I don't remember what this one is about at all. I just know that they are apart.
Separate.
You know?
Yeah. This isn't Oh, no, that's later down the road. This isn't the Chin Ups one with,
No,
Sam.
that's a whole other season. Sorry.
I have to wait.
All right. So thank you everyone for listening. Please be sure to subscribe to us anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Also rate us if you have the capability to rate us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I honestly don't remember all the ones that do. I just know that Apple does
Right.
for sure.
Yeah, give us
Um,
thumbs up. You can just on YouTube give us a thumbs up. Anywhere
oh
that's
yeah,
just a
YouTube. Please subscribe, follow, notification, all of that jazz
yeah,
on YouTube. You can also follow us on all social media. We are at Salt and Burn This everywhere. And that's going to be it for this week. And please tune in next week for Free to Be You and Me for episode 3. So much rhyming. Okay.
oh no.
Thank you, everybody. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.